Our next module is on occupational health hazards. For our objective, at the end of the session, the participants will be able to explain the principles of occupational health and identify the different classifications of health hazards. So before we begin our main discussion, let's define first what is the definition of occupational health. According to the WHO and the International Labor Organization, occupational health is defined as follows. Number 1, this is the promotion and maintenance of the highest degree of all physical, mental, and social well-being of workers in all occupations. In short, kahit anong posisyon mo sa isang kumpanya, kailangan po ma-maintain ang ating physical and mental and social well-being bilang mga manggagawa. Pangalawa, this is the prevention among its workers of departures from health caused by the working condition. So, pinapanatili po natin na ang ating mga workers ay kailangan mag-stay sa ating company and they will not leave because of their working condition. Be it masasabi nila na ayoko dyan or magre-resign ako ng dahil napaka-toxic ng environment dyan or ako po ay laging nagkakasakit, mas tumataas ang aking alta presyon ng dahil sa working condition. Next, this is the protection of workers in their employment from risk usually factors adverse to health. In this case naman, in this definition, it is defined na yung ating mga manggagawa ay protektado against those health hazards na pag-uusapan natin mamaya. At all times po ito, no? While they are inside our company. And lastly, occupational health is defined as placing and maintaining our worker sa isang occupational environment adapted to his or her physiological ability. Ibig sabihin, ang ating manggagawa, kung ano man yung limitations niya in terms of physiological or even physical, is we take it into account when we assign him or her sa mga tasks in the company. Example, our worker is already a diagnosed hypertensive. No? Bago man siya pumasok sa ating trabaho, based on his pre-employment medical exam, siya na po ay known hypertensive. And yet, we place him or her sa isang complaints desk. Imagine, kailangan niyang mag-receive ng mga complaints ng ating mga customers. What do you think what will happen to our worker at the end of the day? Mamaintain ba niya yung kaniyang pressure and not skyrocket? No. So, hindi po ideal yung kanyang trabaho. What else? For example, our worker has a previous back injury and yet we place him into a warehouseman. No? Siya yung taga-buhat. So, that is an example na yung kanyang occupational environment is not adapted to his or her physiological ability. So, in occupational health, we design the workplace na human-centered. So let's define now what is occupational health hazards. As we know sa definition ng isang hazard, this has the potential to cause harm to our workers. Now let's specify it in this definition. Health hazards are your chemical, physical, biological, and ergonomic factors in our environment that can have negative impacts on our short and long-term health. So in this case po, may potential kung itong mga hazards na to cause diseases and illnesses, be it in the long term or short term. Ngayon, ito po yung difference ng safety and health. Kasi sa safety, yung effect ng hazards are immediate. No? For example, may nahulog na isang worker. So, pwede siyang magkaroon ng injuries and fracture immediately. But in the case of health hazards, meron siyang tinatawag na long-term or short-term. When we say short-term, merong exposure to the hazards and makikita agad ang effect or mararamdaman agad yung illness. But, in the other hand, there are also exposure to hazards, to health hazards specifically, that can develop disease after a long period of exposure. So, hindi ibig sabihin na once ma-expose ang aking worker sa isang health hazard, ay immediately agad ma-feel or mag-develop yung kanyang symptoms. It can take sometimes 5 years, 10 years of exposure. These are little exposures, and in the long run, pwedeng mag-develop into a full-blown disease after that latency period. So, kahit po na walang nararamdaman ng ating workers, pwede pong nagsisimula na ang disease process sa kanya. Kaya po, very important na equally, we must focus our hazard identification to health hazards as well. Alright, so let's proceed to the classifications of these health hazards. So, nandoon na po yun sa ating definition kanina. Yung physical, chemical, biological, and ergonomic. Isa-isahin po natin ang bawat isa. Let's start with the physical hazards. What are the physical hazards, or by definition? These are factors or conditions within the environment that can harm the worker's health. So if you try to feel, or know our five senses, so i-reflect po natin yan. So our examples would be noise, hearing, affecting our hearing, vibration, affecting our sense of touch, illumination, eyesight, and extreme temperature. Okay? So let's start one by one. Let's start with extreme temperature or heat. So, actually, in our health hazard, extreme temperature can be extreme temperature in the cold or extreme temperature na heat. Pero most commonly, of course, dito sa Pilipinas, ang pinaka-common po na health hazard is the extreme heat, Kasi iilan lang naman ang mga industriya na merong cold storages. So, that hazard is relevant to them. But in this case, sa ating mesh ngayon, we will be delving on the extreme temperature na heat. So, our healthy human body maintains a core body temperature of 37 degrees Celsius. So, sa 37 degrees Celsius, ito po ang the right body temperature that our body processes are able to function. So, yung process natin sa digestion, respiration, blood circulation, and etc. Now, when a person or a worker is subjected to an environment na mataas ang temperatura, of course, our body temperature also rises up. And kabaliktaran naman din, if our body temperature is, or our body is subjected to a cold temperature, our body temperature lowers down. Okay? But all in all, our body will always strive to have that core body temperature of 37 degrees. Now, what will happen if our body is subjected to heat or the extreme temperature na heat? Our body will maintain the core body temperature, right? So, it will develop or parang ilalabas po niya yung kanyang cooling mechanism. So, imagine yourselves in a hot environment, di ba? Pinagpapawisan ka. That is one cooling mechanism of the body. So, of course, if you are continuously in a hot temperature, your cooling mechanism will break down. And that is where your heat burden rises up, meaning yung temperatura mo sa katawan ay tumataas at yung heat loss ay bumababa. So, you are not able to dispense that heat. So, in that case, your core body temperature rises up, thus, yung body processes mo po is jeopardized. So, you will start developing the body system failure. Kaya po, ito po yung mga resulta, or this is what we call your heat-related illnesses. So, your heat-related illnesses are pwedeng, it can start with your heat cramps, then syncope, pwedeng mawalan po tayo ng malay, heat exhaustion, and the medical emergency, ang heat stroke. So, if heat stress is one of the health hazard that your company is having or ma-expose po ang ating workers with heat stress, then we should be developing heat-related illness prevention program. Our next hazard, physical hazard, is illumination, a common health hazard in an office setup. Now, both natural, so yung daylight source po natin, and artificial, yung electrical source, lighting influences our health and overall mood and productivity in the office. So, ang effect po ng lighting sa ating vision has an obvious impact to our workforce in the office. So, there are causes of visual discomfort related to illumination. We will be discussing two. First, this is glare. Ang glare po ay coming from bright light sources. So, kumbaga, ang lighting natin is too much or sobra sa kailangan natin. There are two types of glare. You can have a direct glare or a reflected glare. Kung sasabihin pa natin direct glare, ito po yung diretso po sa mata, yung light source. Okay? Sa reflected glare, it will reflect on something that is in front of you and it will go directly to your eye. So, example, sa direct glare, kung ang ilaw ay sobrang tutok sa iyo or ang sinag ng araw ay tutok sa mata mo, diba? Medyo discomfort, medyo uncomfortable po tayo niyan. Okay? Sa reflected glare, if your lighting is at the back and it will reflect on your monitor, so reflected glare po yun. It will also affect our vision. So, from glare, we will go to the opposite, no? Ang opposite niya ay ang insufficient lighting or poor illuminated areas. So, in this case, kulang po ang light source na para po sa trabaho na gagawin po ng ating worker. So, if you look at in the picture po na nakikita nyo po sa screen, you have office workers na poor productivity po sila kasi yung kanilang illumination level ay mababa. And the other side is a poorly lighted or poorly lit na warehouse. So, this poses a health risk para po sa ating mga workers. So, what are the effects of poor lighting sa ating mga workers? Unang-una, naapektuhan po ang kanilang mata. So, eye strain is a number one na effect po ng poor illumination para sa atin. So, that eye strain can lead to headaches, and it can also lead to poor concentration, irritability, or even migraine. So, ano po ang sinasabi ng standards natin tungkol sa illumination? So, in our standards, we have to maintain the standard level in accordance to the area of operation ng ating mga workers. So, depende kung anong ginagawa ng ating mga worker, dapat meron pong katumbas na minimum lighting level in compliance to our standards. So, isa lang po yung concept po dito, no? The finer is the work na kailangan gawin, or finer details po yung nakasalamuha or ang ginagawa ng ating mga worker, then dapat mas mataas na lighting level ang kailangan nila. The next hazard is noise. So, ang noise naman po is a common physical hazard present in the occupational setting. So, since noise po ito, naririnig po natin, so, ang effect po ng ating workers sa anong noise sa ating mga workers ay tinatawag nating occupational hearing loss. Now, take note, occupational hearing loss is an irreversible illness po para sa ating mga workers. Once your ears has a severe hearing loss, hindi na po yan maibabalik sa kanyang dati. So, ang gagawin mo na, you have to wear hearing aids to hear well. So, ano po ba ang tinatawag nating hazardous noise? Okay? So, if you look at this picture, yung mga decibels po, the levels na meron pong kulay na yellow, orange, and red, those are your hazardous noise level. Ano po ang sinasabi ng standard in terms of permissible noise exposure? So, sa standards po, ang 90 decibels is already a hazardous noise. So, may specific na duration of hours lang po tayo dapat ma-expose nito. Okay, so take note po, based sa ating standards, wala po dapat na tao na ma-expose ng more than 115 decibels. So, that is the ceiling value for the noise level. Next physical hazard is vibration. So, what is vibration? It means the rapid movement to and from or oscillating movement. So, the vibration enters the body by contact of the body part in contact with the vibrating equipment. So, may dalawang klase pong vibration. You have your segmental vibration and whole body vibration. When we say segmental, ang segmental po, isang body part lang po ang na-expose niya or in contact with the vibration. In contact with the vibrating equipment. So, sa whole body vibration, ito naman, ang kanyang katawan, buong katawan ng ating worker ang na-expose doon sa vibration. Now, this physical hazard is mostly common for workers who are handling power tools or driving heavy equipment. Okay? So, those are our physical hazards. You have your extreme temperature, illumination, vibration, and your noise. Okay? Proceed naman po tayo sa chemical hazard. This is a harmful chemical compound in the form of solids, liquids, or gas. Okay? So, kasama na din po dito ang mga tinatawag nating air contaminants, such as your dust, fumes, vapors, and mists. So, how does the chemical enters the body? May tatlong routes of entry po tayo. You have your inhalation, or the worker breathes in the chemical. Next is ingestion. So, hindi naman po ito nilalaklak or kinakain yung chemical. Ginagawa po dito, the chemical or the worker is handling a chemical, and if there is no hand hygiene, so in contact po siya sa mouth of the worker at doon po pumapasok sa katawan. And lastly, dermal contact or skin contact. So the chemical enters the body through contact with the skin. Okay? So of course, the most common of this route of entry is your inhalation. So what makes this very dangerous para sa ating mga workers? Because these chemicals are toxic, no? Some are toxic to the body or may specific organ toxicities siya sa katawan ng tao. And of course, kung it enters also the body, it has changes, no? Nagkakaroon po ng mga metabolic reactions or changes sa ating katawan. Thus, since the chemical is not needed actually by the body, human body, our body can excrete it, no? So, ang ating katawan will want to excrete any toxins. But, sadly, may mga chemicals na we cannot excrete, tulad ng very, very tiny dust, no? Na tiny particles na diretso po sa lungs naglalodge. So, in that case, ang nangyayari po sa atin will be illness, injury, or even death. Okay? So these are the common air contaminants our workers are exposed to. You have your dusts, fumes, mists, and vapors. Now, in your case naman po, in an office setup, konti lang po yung exposure po natin dito. Thus, we will concentrate on other hazards that are more relevant in your case. So, dito naman, it is something that you nice to know po in terms of chemical hazards. One of the most relevant na health hazard in an office setup is what we call a biological hazard. So, biological hazards refer to organism or organic matters produced by these organisms na harmful po sa isang human, no, sa kalusugan po natin. So, ito po yung mga sakit na dala-dala ng pwedeng yung ibang tao ay mga carrier through a parasite, virus, bacteria, or fungi. So, maraming pong sakit, may iba't ibang sakit po na ang mode of transmission po nila is through direct contact, no, from an affected person or an affected person to someone na hindi pa affected. So, ang pinaka-common again na route of entry is yung inhalation, wherein we are breathing po yung air na meron pong suspended na virus or bacteria. Sometimes, it can also be, or these diseases can be transmitted via body fluids, no? Contact with body fluids from an infected person to a person na hindi infected. Or even contaminated objects na hawakan ng isang tao ang isang object na contaminated doon sa fluid na carrier po natin. Now, I will discuss on the next slides different diseases that are already endemic in the Philippines, meaning nandito na po siya at hindi po nagkakaroon po ng eradication. Okay? So, why is this important that we discuss it here sa ating mesh? Because these diseases are diseases na may nagkakaroon po ng stigma ang mga workers po dito. And these diseases also should have programs, ang workplaces should have programs in place to address this need. First is tuberculosis. Siguro, familiar na po itong disease po natin. It is an airborne disease caused by your Mycobacterium tuberculosis. So, ano po ang hazard po dito? Yung bacteria po natin na Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Ang risk po natin is developing the disease na tuberculosis. So, about 1 million Filipinos are affected by tuberculosis. Actually, as a health practitioner, very common po na nagka-come up or meron po akong mga workers nagkakaroon ng tuberculosis after the physical exam. But you cannot terminate these workers, no? There are programs in place to ensure na meron pong medical intervention and we will help them in their needs. Okay? So, ang tuberculosis po can be in the form of different, no, in the body. So, ang focus lang po natin dito is the pulmonary tuberculosis because tuberculosis can be tuberculosis in the bones, meron po nun, TB meningitis, but in this case, pulmonary po tayo kasi yun po yung pinaka-common. So, ang route of entry again is inhalation. So, according to DOLE, dapat po meron po tayong mga programa. So, under Department Order 7305, dapat meron po in our workplace ang implementation on the tuberculosis prevention and control in the workplace. Okay? It has been signed, or this DO is in effect since March 31, 2005. Next is human immunodeficiency virus and AIDS or HIV/AIDS. Again, narinig na po natin ito. So, So what's the difference between HIV and AIDS? HIV is your virus which causes the disease na AIDS, no, or the syndrome. Now, AIDS is a serious and fatal condition in which the body's immune system cannot fight off infection. In this case po, ang mga workers po natin affected by this disease na AIDS is hindi po nila kayang mag-fight off ng infection, even the influenza, no, yung trangkaso, hindi na po sila pwedeng hindi po sila maka-recover from that. So how do we prevent, no, HIV and AIDS? So ang number one po talaga dito is education to our workers. So education and awareness on the symptoms. So ang mga preventive strategies din po natin are male and female condom use, testing and counseling of HIV for HIV and STIs, especially if we know for a fact of our sexual activities, no? And abstinence and monogamy. Isang partner lang po tayo. And if you are not ready, of course, abstinence. Okay? And behavioral change intervention in terms of sexual lifestyle. So, under Department Order 102 Series of 2010, ay kailangan po meron po tayong implementation of HIV and AIDS prevention and control in the workplace program. This is under po ng ating Republic Act RA 11166. Next disease that we'll be talking about is hepatitis B. This is disease din po na heavily affecting our population. So, pwede po ang ating mga workers are carriers of this. So, hepatitis B is a potentially life-threatening liver infection caused by your hepatitis B virus. So, ang mga workers po natin who are affected by this is high risk to liver cancer and cirrhosis. So, ang symptoms po natin is jaundice, nausea, vomiting, loss of appetite, fatigue, and light-colored stools, no? So, ang prevention po natin, ang mainstay prevention is hepatitis B immunization, no? Or vaccine. So, under po ito ng Department Advisory 05 Series of 10, kung saan meron din po tayong programs or dapat nag-i-implement din po tayo ng Workplace Policy Program on Hepatitis B. So, kailangan po kasama po ito sa mga occupational health programs na meron ang isang workplace. Thus, as workers, kailangan alam po natin ang mga polisiya dito. Sumunod na disease is your COVID-19. No? So, naalala po natin, one of the biological hazard that really shut down operation and stopped the world. Okay? So, this is a highly contagious disease caused by a new strain of the coronavirus, which is SARS-CoV-2. So, marami na po tayong version, no, ng ating COVID-19. However, it has really gave us a hard lesson on health programs, especially po sa ating mga workplaces. So, ang transmission po ng ating COVID-19 is direct or it can be indirect. Direct in terms of droplet transmission from one person na affected person to another. Inhalation po ang pinaka-common. And indirect in terms of contaminated objects. Okay? So, the symptoms are flu-like po, no? And sometimes there are no symptoms at all. So, we still follow the current practice na meron po tayong increasing our physical and mental resilience kasi if our immune system is strong, then we can overcome the COVID-19. Especially po na kung tayo po ay vaccinated. Then we reduce the transmission of COVID-19. Hand hygiene still works and is still one of the best practice na hygiene practices na dapat meron po tayo. It does not only eradicate yung COVID-19, no, na virus kung meron po tayong yung SARS-CoV na meron po tayo sa ating kamay, kundi yung ibang viruses din po and bacteria. Then we minimize contact rate and reduce the risk of infection from COVID-19. So, our last hazard that we'll be talking about is ergonomics hazard. Okay, so ito po yung mga ergonomic. So, let's define first what is ergonomics. Baka po hindi po familiar po tayo. So, workplace ergonomics is the science of designing the workplace, keeping in mind the capabilities of the limitations of the workers. So, it is fitting the job to the worker and hindi po the other way around, wherein the worker will be the one adjusting to the job. So, ito po yung sinasabi ko po kanina na human-centered design po yun dapat ang ating workplace. Because in this case, mas magaan po at akma po sa kapabilidad or the capabilities of the worker ang kanyang ginagawa. There are a lot of ergonomics, no? Aside, so we have your cognitive, organizational, but we will focus on the physical ergonomics, wherein ang effect sa ating workers na very relevant po ito sa inyo. Kasi ang effect ng workers po is your work-related musculoskeletal disorders. So, there are different ergonomic hazards that we may be exposed to in an office setup. We will start with a high task repetition. So, high task repetition will result to the same set of muscles being used. So, in a highly repetitive task, that one cycle is less than 30 seconds. So, kung daily po natin ginagawa ang highly repetitive movements, it will result to injury or even fatigue and injury doon sa mga main body parts that are used, the muscles that you use. Example po, when you're working on a computer wherein you click, and click on your mouse, that is highly repetitive. Kasi yung pag-click natin ng ating mouse takes at less than 30 seconds. So, other industries, yung mga cashiers, no, na they scan, no. So, one scan takes less than 30 seconds. And in those movements na lang ginagawa, iisa lang yung group of muscles na gumagana or nagmo-move. This is the wrist and your hand. The same way when we are working with computers, these are the same, using the same movement or doing the same movement, then iisang muscle group lang din ang ginagamit po natin. Okay? That is high task repetition. Next is forceful exertion. So, forceful exertion naman, ano po natin dito na ginagawa ng worker ay yung mag-exert ng puwersa. Okay? So, these forces involved in the movements of lifting a load or lowering the load, pushing and pulling movement. So, ito yung pagta-transfer mostly ng mga storages po natin and loads. Take note po, the heavier the object, mas mataas po na puwersa ang gagamitin po natin, no? And in that sense, the muscle groups exerts efforts and thus is prone to injury and associated fatigue because of the high force requirements. So another relevant ergonomic hazard is your sustained and awkward posture. So when you say sustained, meaning you are holding the same position or posture for a long period of time. Kaya po relevant because there are, in an office setting, because there are workers who are sitting for long periods of time because, diba, ang mga office staff or admin and support has high interaction ng kanilang equipment na computer or laptop and the person in terms of interaction. So with that, mataas po yung possibility that they are sitting for a long period. Then, meron din pong mga workers in an office setup na nakatayo for a long period of time, such as yung mga security po natin, no? So, they are standing for a period of time, kaya po, sustained po yung kanilang posture. Another is yung awkward posture. No? So, sa awkward posture naman po, in this case, away po sila sa kanilang neutral position. So, nag-deviate po sila sa neutral position. So, what is this neutral position? A neutral position is wherein your body is in one alignment. So, itong ears, shoulders, and your hips are aligned. And your extremities are close to your body. Okay? So, kung nag-deviate po yan, such as in movements na you are twisting, no? Or posture po natin is forward or backward, no? And what else? Yung mga posture po natin na nakataas po yung kamay natin. So, those are awkward posture. What is the effect of these movements towards our workers? So, ang ating effect po dito is your work-related musculoskeletal disorders. No? Yung awkward posture plays excessive force on your joints and overload of your muscles. No? Yung mga repetitive, especially kung mag-combine po yan, no? Yung awkward posture and the sustained posture, plus repetitive din po siya, then mas the higher the risk in developing WMSD. So, kanina ko pa po kinakwento or sinasabi itong WMSD. So, what is this? These are a group of painful disorders of muscles, tendons, and nerves. It is the main effect of your physical na ergonomic hazards. So, napakasakit po nito. And sometimes, binabaliwala din po ito ng ating mga workers, no? Why? Because isang drink lang, no? Or inom lang ng pain relievers, especially kung back pain, nawawala na. And we forget about it. Not knowing na ginagawa natin siya at exposed po tayo every day. Okay? So, the other WMSDs that might develop in terms of sustained posture or forceful exertion or repetitive movement are tension neck syndrome. You have your frozen shoulder, especially kung nasa computer po kayo na matagal, no? Na ganito lang po, isang position lang po yung ating position, then it can result to frozen shoulder. Or yung repetitive movement natin na ang injury po natin goes in our wrists. Your wrist tendonitis, carpal tunnel syndrome, and Baker veins. Kaya po, very important that we follow office ergonomics, no? Especially kung ang layout po natin sa ating area at mataas po ang interaction natin sa isang laptop at isang computer. So, number 1, dapat ang ating monitor, no, is between 18 to 24 or arm's length. And nasa eyesight po natin. Or kumbaga, we don't need to look down or look up para makita natin ang ating monitor. Your shoulders should be relaxed. No? So, your shoulders are relaxed, sit up straight, and you are able to lean back to your back support na armchair. So, dapat mainam po yung back support. And your back should follow the curve of your arm. Your back rest should follow the curve of your back. Okay? Then it has to have sufficient arm support wherein yung arm mo natin will be at 90 degrees. So, yan ang neutral position, close to your body, diba? So, 90 degrees at hindi po siya nakasplay, no? Mostly sa office, hindi natin namamalayan. Nakasplay wide po yung ating shoulders or arms. Okay? What else? No? Again, straight din po yung shoulder and your hips, and your feet is flat on the floor. No? Mas maganda po yan, and relax po. Okay? So, again, your office layout should be responding to what your worker needs. So, iba-iba po yung physique ng ating mga workers. So, dapat po inline din po or responsive po doon sa needs po nila. Okay? So, I will show you, at this point, I will show you a video on a very short video on ergonomics para po maintindihan pa po natin at ma-remind po tayo in terms of our controls.
When people hear ergonomics, they often think of this. But in truth, ergonomics is simply fitting the workplace to the worker, rather than the other way around. And that includes lots of workplaces: construction, manufacturing, transportation, healthcare. You get the idea. So today, we're going to cover some ergonomic basics that apply to virtually any workplace. These include proper posture, managing forces, and excessive repetitive motion. Ready? Let's start with posture. Sitting, standing, walking, it really doesn't matter. Proper bone and joint alignment is key. So straighten up that back, keeping ears, shoulders, and hips in a straight line. Good. Now squat by hinging at the hip. Keep everything aligned. Now sit. Perfect. Maintaining that posture through your day and work, any work, will reduce fatigue, eliminate strains, decrease stress on joints and ligaments, and have you feeling great. If posture is good, forces are evil. Why? Because they assault your posture constantly. There are lift and carry forces, grip forces, push and pull forces, and just plain old gravity. Hey, let's help you out with this. To avoid injury, don't lift, pull, or push too much. Let your posture guide you. And if need be, get help or use a hand truck or other tool. Also, move that body. If you stand up a lot for work, sit. If you've been sitting, stand up. Every change is an opportunity to realign and think about your posture. Our last Ergo 101 topic is repetitive motion. Doing the same task over and over and over and over and over and over. Well, you get the point. Repetitive motions from jobs like these can cause carpal tunnel syndrome, joint problems, poor circulation, and more. Fortunately, these injuries are easy to avoid. First, by arranging your work area to fit you and support good posture, and second, by stretching. Stretches like this, or this, or this, well, maybe not that. Every 30 to 60 minutes can make a world of difference and prevent injury. Show off. Let's recap. Ergonomics is all about fitting your work environment to you. So set up your station to support good posture. Be mindful of posture, reduce forces, and take breaks to stretch and realign yourself. Do all that, and you'll be on your way to being more efficient, more productive, and healthier.
So for that ergonomic hazard po, meron pong advisories and orders po yung ating DOLE for that. DOLE Department Order 178 Series of 2017 for safety and health measures for workers who by the nature of their work have to stand at work. Okay? Tulad po ng mga security guards po natin. Department Order 18417 are safety and health measures for workers who by the nature of their work have to spend long hours of sitting. Yung mga office staff po natin. So, ito po, ang next ko pong mga discussion is not included in terms of health hazards. But, for your mandatory 8 hours, I have to mention the relevant health issues that you might have in your workplace. So, ito po yung sasabihin ko po, no? I-discuss po moving forward. Let's start with mental health. Very important po ang mental health na pangalagaan po natin. So, ano po ang mental health? This includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. So, kung hindi po maayos or hindi po panatag ang ating health in terms of mental health, it will affect how we will be able to think, feel, and act. And this is also a determinant on how we will be able to handle our stress, both personal and work-related, and how we will be relating it to others and make healthy choices. Napaka-importante po na we are aware of our mental health. So, please, wag po natin gawin po itong taboo in our health issues and concerns. Kasi, marami na po tayong mga kasama, no? Sadly to say, that they keep on denying themselves of their health issues in terms of mental health, thus they cannot or they were not able to seek the professional help that they need. So let's talk about work-related stress. So with work-related stress, one cannot rest and recover sufficiently. Okay? So, lahat naman tayo dumadaan po ng stress. Kaya lang, may mga panahon that we must experience, no? After that stress, we are able to go back to our normal body activities or mechanism. So thus, if we are not able to recover sufficiently, this will result to work-related stress. So in this case, our body remains highly active and therefore, in the long run, will damage to the different systems of the body. Dito na po lalabas ang mga different symptoms, physical and behavioral. Among the physical symptoms of work-related stress are as follows. There is lack of appetite, craving for food when under pressure, there is frequent indigestion and heartburn, constipation or diarrhea, insomnia, tendency to sweat for no reason, there are nervous twitches, headaches, cramps, muscle spasms, nausea, breathlessness, fainting spells, impotency, and eczema. Behavioral symptoms for work-related stress na you were not able to handle it too much is constant irritability with people. Now, very important po na we are able to recognize the symptoms among us, no, sa ating mga kasamahan and within ourselves. If we are constantly irritable ba sa ating mga kasama, we have difficulty in making decision, there is lost sense of humor, there is suppressed anger, difficulty in concentrating in the task, inability to finish one task before rushing into another. So aside from the physical symptoms, pwede din po lumabas ang ating mga behavioral symptoms. So in behavioral symptoms, we must be able to recognize it within ourselves and if also being able to recognize this among our coworkers. So ano-ano po itong mga behavioral symptoms na ibig sabihin, we are not able to cope up with the work-related stress that we are subjected to. So among these are your constant irritability with other people, difficulty in making decisions, loss of sense of humor, suppressed anger, difficulty concentrating, inability to finish one task before rushing into another, feeling unable to cope, wanting to cry at the smallest problem, lack of interest, no? Nawalan ka na ng interest sa dati mong gustong ginagawa, waking up in the morning and feeling tired, no, after an early night, no, or constant tiredness po. Okay? Now, what can we do, no, to manage? It's always managing our stress. Dapat we learn how to recognize that, oops, medyo sobra na. Okay? Learn to relax, manage the stress, or else the stress will manage po sa'yo. Okay? So, meron po ang BOH na sinasabi or nire-recommend na tinatawag nating 12S iwas stress. Okay? Being self-awareness. When we say self-awareness, aware po tayo sa ating sariling emotions. Learn how to recognize, are you sad? Are you happy? Are you really truly happy? Are you feeling sad, angry? No? Because sometimes, stress happens when you have suppressed emotions. Okay? Self-awareness that you are not comfortable, learn to say no. Yan, anong example. Scheduling. Huwag na po tayong mag-practice ng procrastination. Minsan, nagsistress po tayo because we do not schedule our time and we do not manage our time, and also getting too much commitment outside, no? So learn to say, will I be able to manage this in my time, no? So dapat scheduling. And of course, bawal tayo mag-procrastination kasi kung we have to put everything in a later, no? Later, lagi tayo nagli-later, then pwedeng yung mga small tasks, no, na dapat madali lang, magiging daunting task na para sa atin. So, siesta or sleep, have enough and good quality sleep, ensure na nagkakaroon po tayo talaga ng tamang oras ng pagtulog. Next is speak, no? Have somebody to talk it out. May confident po tayo so that we will be able to have meron tayong masabihan sa ating nararamdaman. Okay? Sounds, music can manage, no? Can bring us relaxation, no? Kung ano po yung playlist na gusto mong marinig after a long day of work, go ahead and enjoy. Sensation, massage, no? Going to massages is a very good way of ending or capping up a long day at work. Okay? Stretching or exercise, no? Gawa po tayo or make sure po tayo na nagkakaroon po tayo ng mga physical activity para po sa atin. Socials, no man is an island, di ba? Ang sinasabi po nila. Kaya po, if ano po yung kahiligan mo, have your hobby, join social groups so that may iba naman pong tema ang buhay po natin aside from the work. Smile, as good as smile every day goes a long way, even cures a very bad day. Sports, no, iba po yung nagagawa po ng sports mentally because iba naman po yung way of how we think at work and how we strategize also at sports. So, physical activity na din po ito. Stress debriefing after a very intense project, no? After a while, you do stress debriefing. And lastly, kung ano man yung religion po natin, spirituality, ensure po na you have somebody no believe in a higher power, regardless of what faith you have. Now, proceed po tayo sa mga lifestyle diseases wherein we have to be aware of, no? Sino po ba ang overweight dyan, no? May pre-obesity na po. Okay, listen up. So, these are lifestyle diseases which are affecting millions, no, of people all around the world and talagang apektado din po ang mga Filipinos. So, Filipino workers in a company, pwede pong magkaroon po tayo ng mga workers who are already obese, who are already with heart disease or cardiovascular disease, and with type 2 diabetes. Okay? So, isa-isahin po natin yan, no? Obesity. Ano po ba itong obesity? This is a chronic complex disease defined by excessive fat deposits that can impair health, leading to increased risk for diabetes and heart disease. So, obesity pa lang, dalawa na ang pwede kang mag-at risk, no? Kaya po magbarkada po to sila. Kaya if you learn how to control our weight, then other diseases, lifestyle diseases, may lower po, maging lower chance po tayo to develop those. So, ano pong cause ng obesity? Ito po yung hindi balanse or the imbalance of your energy intake or yung diet natin, the food that we eat, and the energy expenditure. Kung how we do not dispense it na in terms of activities. So, kung mataas, masarap kang kumain, madami kang kinakain, pero limited ang movement po, gusto mo lang nakahiga, nakaupo, kumbaga nanonood ng programa sa TV, etc., then you don't move much, naku, mataas po ang chance natin to have obesity, and these fatty deposits can go to your heart. Ano naman po itong heart disease or cardiovascular diseases? These are a group of disorders of the heart and the blood vessels. So, the most important behavioral risk factors of heart disease and stroke are, number 1, unhealthy diet po, no? Yung mataas po yung high fat intake po natin. Physical inactivity, yung hindi gumagalaw. the tobacco use and harmful use of alcohol. Okay? Lifestyle din po. And lastly, type 2 diabetes. So, yung type 2 diabetes natin affects how your body uses sugar or yung glucose for energy. So, in this case, hindi po nagagamit ng katawan yung insulin, which can lead to high levels of blood sugar kung hindi po natitreat. Alam niyo po, wala naman pong namamatay, no? Sa diabetes alone, kundi doon sa mga komplikasyon na dala-dala ng diabetes. Because diabetes or high sugar, blood sugars can affect our eyesight, kidneys, no? Yan po ang pinaka tina-target niya. Kaya po, kung meron po tayong mga diabetes, mataas po ang risk natin for other diseases like kidney disease and infection, no, or sepsis. So, factors that contribute to develop type 2 diabetes. Take note, type 2 diabetes po is highly preventable. So, ano po yung mga or risk factors that can contribute to us developing this disease? Ito po yung overweight, obesity na naman po, not getting enough exercise, and genetics. Kaya po kung may lahi po tayong diabetes, pwede po tayong mas high risk po tayo to develop this. So what is the prevention and management of these lifestyle diseases? Diba? Iisa lang naman po ang mga risk factors niya, yung physical inactivity and food intake in our lifestyle. So we have to change our lifestyle. So how do we do this? You limit your screen time. Kasi when you are on your gadgets all the time or kahit sa screen, you are not moving. Tama po ba? So, this promotes physical inactivity, thus you limit your screen time. So you're able to explore around. Limit consumption of sugar, sweetened beverages, and energy-dense foods, and promote healthy eating behaviors. So, taasan po natin ang intake natin ng ating mga fruits and vegetables. Enjoy a healthy life, yung healthy diet natin, physical activity, sleep duration, quality, avoid tobacco and alcohol, wala pong magandang naidudulot po yan, and emotional regulation, stress management. Take care of our mental health as well. Limit energy intake from total fats and sugars, and increase consumption of fruit and vegetables. And lastly, engage po in your regular physical activity. So that ends our lecture on occupational health hazards, plus yung add-ons natin in your health issues at your workplace. So I hope you have learned something, and please answer po yung ating quiz after the video. Thank you very much.